Hello everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you are doing well. Today's fertility scope is going to be about how to tell if you're ovulating or not and what to do about it if you're not. A lot of people think that they're ovulating for various reasons, and we're going to discuss those reasons today and which ones are viable ways to tell if you're ovulating that you can rely on and ways that may be more of a myth or less reliable. So thank you guys so much for joining. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Heather Rodriguez. I'm a natural fertility specialist. My background is as an herbalist and nutritionist, and my team and I help couples from all over the world to overcome fertility issues, to help prepare their bodies for healthier conception, whether that's all natural or preparing for medical fertility treatment. All right, guys, well, let's get started. So today's topic is how to tell if you're ovulating or not, and what to do about it if you are not. Okay, so this is a obviously super important scope for fertility because you must be ovulating in order to get pregnant. So there's a couple of different ways that people can tell if they're ovulating or not. And some of them, people just go by intuition or by instinct, which is cool. But when you've got, you know, about 2-day chance within your entire cycle to get pregnant, you kind of want to nail it. You kind of want to be on top of knowing when you're ovulating or if you're even ovulating. There was a recent study that came out that couples that were going to go get IVF were questioned about the reason they were going to go get IVF and if they had even learned how to track ovulation or if they knew they were ovulating or not. And many of them had said, yes, I'm tracking my ovulation. And when asked how they were doing it, majority of them were found to be doing it wrong, and they actually were not accurately timing when they were trying to get pregnant. So this is a super important topic. So it's about, are you ovulating, and then timing of once you are ovulating of trying to conceive. So really quickly, the way that the monthly cycle works is you have your period, and then during that time your lining is building up, your hormones are shifting, your egg is getting ready to ovulate. About halfway through your cycle, different for everybody, day 12 to 14, if you're going to go textbook, you will ovulate. And then after that time, the egg is going to be traveling down your fallopian tube, the sperm is going to be coming up. It takes such a long distance for them because they're so tiny. They will fertilize and then keep on traveling down the fallopian tube into the uterus to implant. This generally happens around a 28-day cycle. Some of you I know have 30-day cycles, 34-day cycles. We've talked about them before in previous videos. It doesn't have to be 28 days, but what it does have to be is, one, that you're ovulating, and two, that there's enough time after ovulation for the embryo to implant. So on to finding out how to tell if you're ovulating. There's a couple different tools, and I'll tell you which are my favorites. The first is going to be, you can use OPK testing. Are you guys familiar with OPK testing? Is this something that you've tried before? It's a little strip test that looks like a pregnancy test, looks just like it. You can get them at the pharmacy, you can get them at the drugstore, and some of them, like the little cheapies you can get online, are just these little paper strips, and they're really inexpensive. We sell them on the website. We sell them for our cost, so you get a whole pack for, I don't even know the price, but they're really, really inexpensive because you need to use a bunch of them throughout the month. So they're these little pea strips. You can get the plastic ones at the pharmacy, but I would just get the little cheapies because you're going to need a bunch of them, and you don't want to spend like 10 bucks on each one at the store. So you pee on that. And you would do it every single day around when you think you might ovulate. And what that's going to detect is your LH surge. So that'll tell you, okay, if it's a positive, then you're going to be ovulating within the next 12 to 24 hours. The thing about OPK tests, though, is they are super frustrating to me. Tap the hearts if you guys have tried OPK tests and they have frustrated you, because you'll get a line, you'll get another line, but that doesn't mean anything. It's not like a pregnancy test. It has to be the same color as the test. You know how on the test there's like the line that it comes with, and it's, you know, purple or blue or whatever. Your test line that appears has to be just as dark or darker to be a positive. Because all month long you could get a faint strip on that one. So it's different than a pregnancy test. So that's what frustrates me about OPK testing, is you're always kind of like, is this a positive or not? Because there's a line, but is it dark enough? So they kind of drive me crazy. But it is, some people get them down, and they are very helpful for many people. So that's one way to test and to see if you're ovulating or not, is to use OPK testing. Another is to use, it's kind of like OPK testing, but a little bit more sophisticated, because you're using a machine like Clear Blue Easy Monitor. They're about 100 bucks. I think they're a really good investment. Yes, you can get them online used, up to you. But anyways, Clear Blue Easy is the same thing. You'll be doing the test strip, but you put it into the machine and it tells you what's going on. And then it memorizes your cycle and will tell you when your fertile times are coming up and all of that. So that's really helpful if you've got the money for it and if the OPK tests are driving you nuts. The third way, which is totally free, and my favorite way, is going to be fertility charting. And fertility charting is basically every single day you take your temperature with a basal thermometer. You can get a basal thermometer at your grocery store, at your pharmacy. They are everywhere and they are cheap. It's just I should have brought mine out. It's just a little thermometer. So you have to take your temperature every single day. That's the only thing about it that is kind of annoying, is that you need to do your temperature every single day at the same time, because your temperature changes throughout the day. It changes right after you wake up. It changes, it's lower right before you wake up. So you do need to be consistent with that. But what's really cool is you'll take your temperature and you can write down the temperature and you get a fertility chart. We've got them free on the website at naturalfertilityinfo.com or Natural Fertility Shop. You can get the free fertility chart, or you can use an online app, which such as Fertility Friend. If there's any other ones that you guys suggest, tap them, put them below in the comments. Fertility Friend, I think, is a fantastic one. You can do a free trial. I think it's free if you only want some features, and then you can upgrade. But the cool thing about it is you can put it in, and it keeps on tracking your cycle, and then it'll kind of tell you, we think you might ovulate soon, because you're tracking your temperature, you're going to track your cervical mucus, your symptoms, some other things that we'll talk about here in a second. You can track on there. So I find that really useful. It also has a phone app, which we all have our phones with us, so that's really easy as well. So look into that. You can use paper, you can use your computer, you can use app, whichever you need, but to do that, you take your temperature every day. The reason that I think fertility charting is the best way to track ovulation is because you can tell a lot from fertility charting. So you can tell how long your luteal phase is, which is super important. So many people, luteal phase defect is the reason that they can't get pregnant. Like, there's nothing wrong with them, they've had testing done, but the period of time from ovulation until their period is too short. If it's less than 12 days, it's too short. Embryo has no time to implant. It's not going to happen. So you can tell that on fertility charting. You can tell if you have low progesterone. You can tell if you possibly have hypothyroidism and should go get testing and see your doctor. You can tell if you're pregnant. You can tell if you ovulated or not, which is the point of this talk today. But there's a lot of different things that you can tell through fertility charting. So I definitely suggest it for everybody. If it starts to make you stress out, that's another story. I'd say back off on that one. But it's good to do for a couple of cycles. But the negative about fertility charting is you don't know you ovulated until after the fact. The spike that happens because of ovulation, the dip, is like after you've ovulated. So what that tells me is for the next, or what that tells you is for the next cycle, okay, I ovulate around day 13, or okay, I ovulate around 14. So you can start looking for other signs, which I'm going to cover right now, of ovulation, so you kind of know ahead of time. But it's amazing. So anyways, Fertility Friend, that would be a suggestion. I'm sure there's some other, because that's been around for a while, I'm sure there's some other up-to-date apps too that you can use for that. Another way to tell if you're ovulating is going to be your cervical mucus. All right, too much information, warning coming up. We're going to talk about body fluids. So cervical mucus. So fertile cervical mucus is going to be that of the white in an egg. So if you crack open a raw egg and you kind of see that stretchy, clear liquid, that's going to be what fertile cervical mucus looks like. So that's one way to tell if ovulation's coming up, but you can still have great cervical mucus and not be ovulating. So that's why I wouldn't have that be the only, and I'm whispering because there's some neighbors downstairs. I don't want to scare them with my cervical mucus talk. But that is one way of telling if you're fertility charting, you're about to ovulate. So it'll help you to know so you kind of don't miss that. But if you're not having cervical mucus, even if you're ovulating, that's going to be an issue because that's what helps the sperm get to the egg. That's what helps traveling to occur. So that's a whole nother topic I'll go into in the future. But cervical mucus is another way to tell. So I have a question for you guys. One way that we find a lot of people think that they're ovulating is they'll feel twinges and aches and pains in their abdomen, like where their ovaries are located. Do any of you experience this? And if you do, is this one way that you are is this one way that you're tracking ovulation. So a twinge would be like, kind of feels like a muscle pull or something like that. You do. So you guys, so Sandy gets the twinge. You get the twinge, yes. Okay, so you guys know what I'm talking about. So this is, it's a little kind of twinge or pain that occurs and you're like, oh, I wonder if I'm ovulating. Great, so you know what this tells me about you guys is that you are all really connected to your bodies. So this is really cool. That's a really good thing. So the twinge is something that, unfortunately, I would not rely on as a positive, for sure sign that you just ovulated. Because there's a lot of different things that can be going on that cause that twinge. It could be your body ovulating, for sure. But it can also be different muscle cramps. It can be connective tissue that you've got going on and you're trying to ovulate, but it may not be happening. So it's not going to be 100%. So I wouldn't rely on that, especially when you're actively trying to conceive as your for sure sign. Yeah, and you get some people are saying that they have a very strong painful feeling during that time. Yeah, so I just want to check in with you guys because we get so many people and that's their main method of thinking that they're ovulating, and let's not rely on that. Let's get you pregnant sooner than later and find out if you're ovulating or not. So, okay, those are my main ways. Now on to the tips of what you can do if you find out through these methods if you're ovulating or not. So if you are not ovulating, there's a couple different things to focus on. The first is going to be, guess what? Diet. Can you guys guess it? It's going to be my answer, first step for everything. It really makes a huge difference. It's the basis of all health, especially fertility health. So the first thing to focus on is going to be eating a diet. And specifically for ovulation, there are some nutritional deficiencies that actually will cause you to not ovulate. Isn't that interesting? So, I mean, think about your body is deficient in something. The first thing to go in any case of stress, deficiencies, malnourishment is fertility. It's like the first thing to go. If you are impaired in any way in your life, your body's like, oh, we are not reproducing right now. We are going to focus on fixing this issue, dealing with the stress, whatever it is. So if you are iron deficient, which a lot of women are, that could be a cause of not ovulating. There's many different causes. So what I like to do is just kind of focus on a multi-pronged approach to support the body, and then your body is going to naturally ovulate. We do not force ovulation. That's one of the reasons I love natural health, is that we're supporting the body, and the body is going to be healthier, and then you'll naturally ovulate. Whereas with medications, where some people are totally going to need them. I'm not anti-medication. I just don't think they're the first step. It will force the body to ovulate. The reason you're not ovulating will not be found, will not be supported, and the body will be forced to ovulate. And a lot of times that doesn't even work, unfortunately. So diet, number one. Fertility diet, you can go on my website, naturalfertilityinfo.com. I have a ton of information about fertility diet, recipes, so many steps to get you started. If you want a resource today, right now, to get going, go to naturalfertilityshop.com and do a search for the 21-day fertility diet challenge. The best way to get started on a fertility diet if you're starting from scratch, because all it focuses on is adding to your current diet, not taking away. So it makes it really easy for you. The next thing is to make sure that you are taking a multivitamin to help with any of those deficiencies. We also want to make sure you're getting that folate, B12, all those other things. Super easy, foundational stuff. Now, herbs. This is one of the coolest things about herbs. There's 3 main herbs that we use to help support ovulation, and it could be for various reasons that you're not ovulating. If you say you are going through something such as PCOS, there's going to be definitely some more steps that need to be taken, but this is applicable to anybody who is not ovulating. If it's due to hormonal imbalances. Let me preface it with that. So this is going to help. It's a hormonally based. If it's stress based, you're going to need to make those stress changes. If it's hormonally based, these herbs will help. The first herb is going to be my favorite herb, my sister herb friend, Vitex. I love Vitex. It's an amazing, beautiful herb. So Vitex is fantastic because it helps to support the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is kind of Miss Bossy Pants. She's the head of all, coordinating, orchestrating all of the hormones, the sex hormones, and telling progesterone, start secreting, estrogen, it's now your turn. She's just like the head of the orchestra of an amazing, complex hormonal dance that happens every single month. So Vitex directly supports that gland, so your body and the endocrine system, so your body is able to ovulate itself. Vitex does take a couple months to work, so that's something that you have to consider. And if you have nutritional deficiencies, Vitex will not work. If you're not eating a healthy diet, and Vitex doesn't work for you, look at your diet. The next herb, and I have other videos where we go more in depth into that, and I'll talk about Vitex more in the future. But I just wanted to get you some stuff today that you could get going since I missed you yesterday. The next is going to be maca. Maca is one of my go-tos. I wouldn't rely on maca alone for ovulation, but I would definitely add it to any fertility program, really. But with Vitex, it works really well. So maca is going to be nourishing to the endocrine system and help with any excess in estrogen, if there is some. If there isn't, don't worry about it. Maca is just going to help support the endocrine system. And the third is going to be tribulus. Tribulus is a really interesting herb, which has been studied in use with metformin, and the results were better in conjunction. Talk with your doctor if you're going to use herbs with your medications, though. But tribulus is a wonderful herb for stimulating ovulation and helping with sperm health. So it kind of has a similar action for men. So that's another great herb. So those are the three main herbs for helping with ovulation. And then the last tip is going to be to work on increasing circulation to your reproductive system, to your ovaries, to your uterus, through massage, yoga. Yoga is fantastic for helping support ovulation. Massage, castor oil packs, getting some exercise, going for walks. I talk about circulation a lot because I'm sitting right now. You're probably sitting right now. We all sit and don't move a lot. So get moving, whatever it is. If it's dancing, if it's walking, massage is fantastic. Just get circulation to the reproductive system. So those are my tips. A quick recap. Ways of telling if you're ovulating is going to be fertility charting, OBK test, Clear Blue monitor, Clear Blue Easy monitor, and through your cervical mucus. Twinges are not going to be a 100% reliable way of telling if you're ovulating or not. And if you are not ovulating, looking at diet, nutritional deficiencies, making sure you're on a whole food multivitamin such as Fertile Woman 1 Daily is fantastic for that. And we spoke about 3 herbs, maca, Vitex, and tribulus, and also increasing circulation to the reproductive system. And thank you so much for joining this class today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and I thank you so much.